Hello, my name is George Fushi. I'm a father of 5 amazing kids and a grandfather to one. I'm 59 years old, and I had a near-death experience where I met the Lord. In June of 2021, I contracted the coronavirus, and after about 5 or 6 days of battling with the virus, maybe even 7, I got a message from the Lord that something was wrong. And so it was around a Thursday or Friday night, I think. And I said to my wife, I said, Trace, I think something's wrong. I think I'm in trouble. And she said, well, check your oxygen level on your Apple Watch. See, I wasn't worried about the virus. I hadn't even checked my oxygen that entire time. And I checked it and I said, it's 69%, which, if you don't know, like once you start getting below 90% oxygen saturation, that's getting dangerous. Well, as soon as I said that, she began to dial for an ambulance. And an ambulance arrived really quickly. It got to the house, I'm guessing, within minutes. And I had checked my oxygen again right before the firemen got there, and it was 40%. So I was failing fast. Because of my size, the firemen, when they got there, they said, hey, are you able to stand and to walk? And I said, sure. And I got up and I walked out to the ambulance. When I hit that ambulance, last thing I remember, I was laying down in the ambulance on the gurney, and I looked out the window and I passed out. I was unconscious for around 30 to 32 days, something like that. I was in a coma, and my oldest son, Jet, he wasn't able to attend a family trip with us, so he was the only one out of the 5 kids and my wife that didn't have COVID. And he was an intensive care nurse at the cardiac division at Northwestern Hospital in Chicago. So he had seen a lot of COVID patients. Well, he met the ambulance at Silver Cross Hospital in New Lenox. And when he saw me, he said, Dad, you're the worst COVID patient I ever saw. He knew I was going to die. And when the attending surgeons came out from the emergency room to meet Jet, they told him, you know your dad's going to die tonight, right? And he had said, yeah. And so they said to call your mother and let her know, give her the news, tell your siblings. And he did that. I survived the night. And when Jet got there the next day, the doctors met him and they said, you know, there's things worse than death, and this is it. Your dad survived, but his oxygen saturation levels fell to 20% last night. So there's no brain function there. However long he survives this, he'll have to live on a ventilator, and he'll never leave the hospital. So I think they had suggested at that point pulling the plug. And Jet said no, he wanted to keep things going. And thank God he did that. I think maybe the Lord spoke to him. And so I was in a coma for somewhere around 33 days. For 32 days, it was the most horrifying nightmares that you can imagine. The most vulgar, perverted things. I could write 2 or 3 or 4 movies of the entire nightmares that I had. It was 24/7. I wouldn't wish these nightmares and this mental torture on the worst man on earth. And I survived those nightmares. And the last day was something different. It was not a nightmare. It was not a drug-riddled experience. It was an experience. And I was walking in complete and total darkness. And I only had on pants, no jacket, no shirt, no shoes or boots. And I was walking in thick ice and snow, again, in total darkness. And I was dying. And I just kept saying to myself, I gotta keep going. I'll find a jacket. I'll find shelter. I gotta keep going. And just then, I thought to myself, I think the ice and snow is getting less. And as soon as I thought that, as soon as I said that statement to myself, the devil said to me, you're right. The ice and snow is getting less. And the ice and snow will end. But when the ice and snow ends, and it will end, all there is for you is darkness and loneliness for eternity. Just as he finished saying that, I saw a giant golden hand come for me. It grabbed me by the shoulder, and it woke me up in the hospital bed. And it was the hand of the Lord. And the Lord said to me, now you don't have to have faith. Now you don't have to believe. Now you know. Tell others. And I was awake in my bed. I lay there for several days. And as I began to really recover, get my bearings, I realized that I had been living life as a toddler, just doing whatever I wanted at all times. And I realized I had to be more intentional. Now, at that point, I was still not able to move. I was still on the ventilator, and I was on the ventilator for several more weeks. And not being able to move, I began to get into a really depressive state. And one night, at my lowest point, I didn't know how I could get through this. There was no physical therapy because of my size. There was no plan for physical therapy. It was still in question whether I'd have to live on a ventilator in that hospital. And the devil came to me on a Sunday night in a dark hospital room, and he said, the Lord has forgotten about you. And that was the end of my low point, because I knew when the devil came to me at my lowest point, I knew he was a liar. I knew the Lord hadn't forgotten me, and that was confirmation that he was coming to me at such a low point, that he was attacking at such a low point. I knew that wasn't true, and I began to get better. Within about 3 more weeks, I was off the ventilator, and about 6 months after that, I walked out. I left the hospital before that point, but I didn't walk until a couple months out. But in late October of 2021, I left the hospital, and I went home. I went right to my son Joe's football game, and actually, that event is covered on ABC News. There was so little of a chance that I would survive that ABC News' John Garcia covered my leaving the hospital, and I'll post a link for that, and you can check that out. But my point in that is that I want you to know the Lord is there. The Lord is real. The Lord loves you, but you got to love him back. You got to have a personal, intentional relationship with God. Not just to go to church, not just to do these things, so that you have peace, so that you can save your eternity. Don't live in darkness. Don't live in eternity, in eternal loneliness. Live in the light. Have a relationship with the Lord. Talk to the Lord. Pray daily. Meditate daily and pray to the Lord. It will give you peace when you normally have fear. It will give you peace when you normally have depression. It will give you peace when you normally have anxiety. Please DM or message me if you've got any questions or if you want to talk. I love all of you. Follow God. Please share this story. Please share this video so that if there's anyone out there that needs affirmation, that needs confirmation, the Lord is real. He spoke to me. The devil is real. He spoke to me. Love.